Hello and welcome, willkommen. I've tried this before. So stupid. It's episode 166 of Masters of the Forge. With me, I have Jason.
Hey, Adam, how you doing?
Good. And waiting in the wings, we have David Annandale on with us today to talk about Deacon of Wounds. I hope everybody read it. It's a great book. It's a real page turner, so shouldn't be too difficult to read to get it read for this episode. But there's just a warning: some weird stuff might happen if you read this book. But we'll talk a little bit more about that later, after it's too late.
Yeah.
So it's a beautiful summer day here, even though I think it's technically still spring. It's been summer for a couple days now, and Sonny didn't poop during the last segment. I mean,
wait, I lost my dollar?
Yeah, you lost your dollar. He didn't poop in the future segment, so hopefully he'll stay unpooped during this one.
I'm offended that I lost my dollar.
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, you need now you need to send David Annandale $1.
Yeah, well,
or was the bet against me? I don't know. Whatever.
I don't know.
It's fine. It's fine.
No one really accepted it because it was like I bet $1 that he his, and by then you'd already taken off to
I did take off. I'm not wearing pants, which is why I turned around in my chair and rolled towards the door. So I don't have any pants on, and I'm not gonna stand up and show David Annandale my underpants. I mean, I'll do it to you.
I know. I'm not worried about that. I mean, that's part of what I get as being in Masters of the Forge premium subscriber.
Full frontal underpants. So for hobby progress, I finished Death Dread number 6 of 9.
Yes.
This is a stompy boy. He's a stompy boy. He's got the body of a ghost keel and the legs. So the legs, I took the Death Dread legs and some track guards from the the Astra Militarum vehicle upgrade kit,
right? And
a few other pieces. I think it was there's some weird pieces in there that's hard to describe. If you want to actually see it, you can go to my Twitter, Loopy3025 on Twitter. And he's got regular Death Dread arms, but he's looking pretty great. I kind of took the part where the Ghost Keel pilot goes into the main hull of the Ghost Keel, and I didn't put any of that in there. Instead, I turned that so that was facing front, and I put a bunch of junk in there. There's a piece of a flamer, there's a piece of a Vox grill and whatever, and I put some jaws above and some jaws below it, so it looks like a mouth full of machinery. And after I started painting, I noticed that it kind of looks like it needed a nose, so I glued a metal Sisters of Battle heavy flamer for a nose and put some hoses out from there, so it looks like the mouth has this big Vox grill that emits noise, and it looks like his nose shoots fire. It's pretty. I love him. He's great.
I need to go back. So
I'll be starting. He's pretty fun. I'll be starting 7 of 9. Well, I already started 7 of 9 last night. A couple hours with the Skiffy and Fanty crew watching a bad movie. They do a podcast every once in a while where they pan a movie. It's real bad. Ghosts of Mars. It's an iced tea joint. It's so bad.
I remember that.
It's actually what's his name? I can't. The guy who did. He's a famous horror director. He did that Antarctica movie that James Stagg loves. The Thing,
Cameron,
yeah.
Right?
James Cameron. Yeah, it's in it, but it's really terrible. Anyway, anywho, it was I got a couple hours in on that, and I did put an old metal destroyer body on the ground so that there could be some kind of 7 of 9 robot pun reference there for you, Jason. That's
good. I needed that.
I know that's what you wanted, so I did that.
Thank you.
So here's my quandary. I already built, with the starter kits I got those Death Dreads out of, I already built some knobs from that.
Yeah.
And I love those guys because I've always wanted to have a bunch of knobs with 2 choppas.
Yeah.
But I haven't built the boys yet. And with the Beast Snagas coming out, I kind of don't want to paint another 40 boys.
Yeah, that's
I'm thinking
understandable.
about putting them on eBay. I might put those on eBay along with 3 of the 4 pain boys I have. Just throwing them on eBay for nominal cost and recouping a little bit of that. And maybe hopefully picking up a Beast Snagga box. But we have been having some changes in our lifestyle here that have required us to cut back a little bit. So I can't really just be willy-nilly buying a bunch of Beast Snagga boxes, right? So I think that might be a good way to fund that. What do you think? Like those boys look pretty good, right? Beast Snagga ones.
I'd go. I would sell the on sprue stuff just to go ahead and fund that because how many boys do you have painted? I mean, I know that we're not supposed to go through and call each other out, but
no,
few,
that's just
right?
it. Yeah, I've got 7. Okay, at least 7 full squads of 30 painted. I think, and 1 or 2 of those units, at least one of those units, I deeply feel I need to repaint.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking maybe for this project, this specific project, maybe I'll wait until those Beast Snaggas come out, and I'll add those to the Dread Mob as boys units. And
I think that's a good idea.
For now, enjoy repainting my oldest unit of boys. Yeah. They've actually already been repainted once, but they are red. Their shirts are red, and that's not the scheme I'm going with these days. I'm doing the blue and yellow thing. So I'll go through those and repaint their shirts yellow and touch up their skin, brighten up their skin a little bit, and put them on 32 millimeter bases. So I think that's what I'll do.
That's a good idea. I like that idea.
Cool. Yeah, I'm glad you agree. Other than that, I'm just focused on this Dread Mob project. I've been doing some printing for people, but that's really about it. What have you been, looks like you're on full throttle, Jason.
Yeah. Considering that I was sick last weekend. So I wanted to apologize about the late upload of the last episode. Papa Nurgle popped by. Oh man, Papa Nurgle came by and it was not pleasant, pretty anything. I was pretty knocked out for a few days there. Which I guess was all part of the reading Deacon of Wounds, but I'm not going to blame David for those sorts of things.
Oh my goodness, we should have mentioned that to David that you got sick during the reading of Deacon of Wounds, because that's just another thing.
Yeah, that it was. Yeah. Ooh. All right. So let's talk about hobby and not how much I hated the world there for a few days. So Amon, my Forge World model is basically done, which I'm really stoked about. It's kind of nice. But the Disc of Zinch that I built for him, that I kind of converted, cut, kit bashed, whatever, it's too large for a 50 millimeter base. In fact, it hangs way over on every side on the 50 millimeter. I'm going to look at a 60. Daw's picking up a couple, but I think I'm just going to end up putting him on an 80 millimeter base and just really making that base a lot more scenic. I do have that partial Primaris Lieutenant that was on Bellacor's base. I kept him because I didn't want to put that Primaris on that base because I thought it would take away from Bellacor. So I could paint that as a Space Wolf and throw it on the base of Amon here. And I also have a bunch of Space Wolf bits that have been in my bit box for years. One really cool thing about this is if you look at all of my blood ravens, they're all really dark and kind of dirty, and they always have been. That was kind of the painting style I was doing. And
Yeah, I
with
remember that.
my Thousand Suns, I'm trying to dial up the brightness.
They're sexy boys.
Yeah, they're like make them sparkle. Yeah, sparkling space Egyptians. I'm sure that wouldn't be difficult to say quickly. And that's with my demons too. I'm trying to really push those bright colors and whatnot, just as a look. I can actually paint something that's not dark and dirty. I can actually have, a cleaner line there. So anyways, that's kind of what I'm doing with Amon. He's like bright, but a dark, bright candy apple red.
Okay.
It's kind of cool, kind of obnoxious. I'm enjoying it. Let's see, Be'lakor Superstar. All right, so base coated that guy blue black with the airbrush. I'm using a combination of ideas and techniques from Little Legend Studios and CK Studios. One of the things that Miles from Little Legends does is he'll sketch out highlights that may not that aren't. There's zenithal highlights, but there's highlights to kind of bring up brightness in certain areas. And so I did a lot of that, and then with CK, I pushed a lot of the contrast. And for our listeners who've done the CK Studios class, he is most definitely in the ugly phase right now, because that is a thing we talk about in the master class. And Payne's Gray, the ink, has definitely been my best friend to push that real bright gray white contrast and have Payne's Gray bring it back down to a darker color. So I have done a bunch of color blocking on the front of the model, and the details are really popping those chains. So I started just doing highlights on there just to kind of figure out what was going on, and they look really cool. They're really standing out. So I'm pretty happy. But I'll keep working on this guy.
The work you've been doing on these guys has been really cool. I really like your sorcerers. I like people might wonder why you're doing so many, and it's like I have the same thing going on with my orcs. I've got so many of the same model for many different models. Like I could never field them in the same force. But that's not the point. The point isn't that you're going to field them all at once. It's everybody has their own style, and everybody might be used in a different situation, or however you're feeling that day.
Right? Well, that and I can take 9 sorcerers and APOC, and
Well, that's true too. Yes, you could conceivably do that.
Yeah, it's probably a bad idea, but you know what? I like bad ideas.
Well, that's what we're here for. That's our freaking meat and potatoes of Masters of the Forge.
All right, and the last one I have a 30k Armin from the Burning of Prospero box. Actually, I've got a couple of them. We're not gonna talk about how many of those we have. Actually, we're not doing that sort of thing here. But I had base coded him and color blocked him before quarantine. And then quarantine happened, and I just kind of had to put everything away. But I brought him back out yesterday or the day before to start, kind of bringing his details up and working with him. He's a bit stark right now, very red or gold. I mean, there's some other colors on there. There's some blue and there's some white, but he's just very red. And I kind of need to figure out some of my color blocking on there and see if I need to change some details. He's also kind of in the ugly phase. So yeah, but he does have a disc.
Yeah, that's always rough.
Yeah, it's always the hard part. Just like, I can see there's some really beautiful stuff going on here, but what are the details? And when it's a model you don't know very well, like it's the first time you've painted it, you have to sit there and think, all right, well, does this work like this and that? The nice thing is that all these are HQs, so they can all be a little bit different. They don't have to be totally consistent across the board, because they're expected to be their own leader. Right. So,
Yeah, after that 2 hours of base coats last night, I'm definitely kind of fully in the this is garbage. I
Yeah,
am garbage. My whole life is garbage.
it hurts, right?
Why am I bad at painting Warhammer?
Yeah,
You know?
it hurts. Then all of a
So
sudden you can get to that segment where there's that just one thing that has to be done to finish what you've got, and just like, oh, I don't suck so bad.
well, for my
Yeah.
orcs, it's just the after the first clear coat and the wash,
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy. But
Oh, okay.
that's
Yeah.
like 90% of the way into the model. So that's the
Yeah.
problem. You have to go 90% of the model feeling like this is hot street garbage and I am bad
Yeah.
before I
Yeah.
start feeling nice again.
Well, this Armin, his disc is almost done. I think it was originally the Burning Chariot disc, and
Yeah.
so whenever I painted it, I guess I did this really bright green organic looking color because it looks like it's on my desk and it looks like it's pulsating at me. It feels like it's a mushroom that's about to explode.
Nice. That's hot.
Yeah, but once I finish him and get Amon taken care of, I'm going to go ahead and get back to finishing the horrors because most of those I think I just did a base coat on them, or at least for the pink horrors, it's just a base coat. I need to go in and pick up details just to really make this whole force look nice. Especially since whenever we go to Adepticon next, this is the army I'm taking with me. So, I would like for it to look good at Adepticon or wherever I go to next. So, anyway, games played. Hey, let's talk about your game because that was pretty rad.
Oh yeah, we both have games played to talk about. I had a match play game with our monthly crusade gathering in Queensberry. We had our first fully vaccinated game night, so
That was awesome.
Faces be free. It was nice. And we also decided this time to do a matched play game because we've been playing small point crusade games for a year now, and we were ready to just try something a little different, play full armies and kind of get a good grasp of our armies as a whole. As opposed to the slow build-up. I mean, I love Crusade, and I can plan on continuing to play Crusade, but it was nice to get a match play game in. And I played my Drukhari, which I'm still not running whatever ridiculous list. I don't even know what the list is people are running. I'm running my Cursed Blade Witches, and I got to bring out my Tantalus for the first time, which was awesome.
I saw that.
The Mothership Revolution. Ooh, that is the Tantalus's name now. The Mothership Revolution.
All right.
Understand that I have very deep levels of interplanetary funksmanship in my family, and it shines through my DNA. What was I talking about? I swear to God, I'm not high right now or drunk. So I was playing against Kendrick's White Scars.
Yeah.
And we had a game, and it was tough. Like, we went back and forth quite a bit. But in the end, the Drukhari were finally victorious. It was, fast versus fast. Then my fast was in transports, and his fast was on bikes and on foot. Yeah. And being on foot against the Drukhari is not an easy prospect. He did manage to take out some raiders early on, but it was not enough. Everybody was delivered to the center of the battlefield, and I fanned out and was able to take out his army. We had a nice time. I don't know. I'm kind of still enjoying the Drukhari. I hope that there are some things that are kind of not fun. So like the Incubi, I didn't realize this. They have this thing where they roll if they're in combat with you. They roll their leader. They roll 3d6, or is it 2d6? Either way, they roll dice, and if they beat your leadership, you go last in combat, and that's brutal. That's rough.
Oh,
Yeah, that's rough. I don't like that.
that does though. Yeah,
I mean,
is
it
brutal,
is.
but it
Yeah,
feels like it feels narrative because I mean
yeah,
they
because they're
can,
scary. They're
yeah,
terrifying.
and they're
Like they're
fast.
terrifying. Yeah, and they're fast and they're terrifying, and also like they still only have one wound, even though they're
Hmm.
kind of like the shock troops. A lot of the shock troops in the game have two wounds, and they still
Yeah,
have the one. So they do still kind of die, not as fast as witches or warriors, obviously, but they still die pretty to concentrated firepower. So it
yeah,
is kind of nice that they get to fight before you do, sometimes, even if you charge them. So it is interesting. Um, and I did have a nice time playing them, and I'll continue to play a similar list. I probably won't bring the Tantalus every game, but I think my crusade force is going to continue to be the Curse Blade Witches, and I'm not going to bother with the rest of the field, the rest of the
yeah.
army. I think just playing the witches and not playing the witches that have the supplement in
Hmm.
Book of Rust. I think that makes my army good, but not like super easy, overpowering good. Which is where I want to be when I'm playing Crusade. I want to be a challenge, obviously, but I also don't want to be like, I'm not going to play the best list possible,
Right.
if you take my meaning. But anyways, I had a lot of fun with those guys, as I usually do.
Oh yeah.
I actually have a game with Kendrick on Monday. We're going to be playing some Age of Sigmar in our Anvil Apotheosis campaign that we're running, which I
Oh
believe that's
yeah.
what I want to do for our next episode. Try to come up with some cool Anvil Apotheosis rules for Warhammer 40K.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the character generator that's from Sigmar.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I've been talking about this with my local gaming group because we're starting to come back, and well, we'll talk about in games play, but we're starting to like
Uh-huh.
bring stuff back, and so we're wanting to restart the Inquisition wars that we had
Ooh,
begun. So
yeah. Yeah, that
um,
might be a great use for it. And again, everybody, even if we do this, that means Games Workshop will create rules for it, thus
yep.
invalidating all the work we did.
Hmm.
So you're
We're doing
welcome.
this for you. We are
Yeah.
doing this for you guys.
Well, Jason, what have you been doing game wise?
Um, I was well. Normally we do Curse City on Saturday afternoons, but last week I was chilling with Papa Nurgle, so I didn't get to play last week. But this afternoon we're doing Curse City. I'm going to go ahead and take my painted flamboyant pirate with me because he's
Mm-hmm.
painted, and I'm pretty stoked about him being painted. Um, I was able to, go up to the store a bit this past week, just because I think most of the people that are there, if not all of them, have now been vaccinated, so we can start uh, hanging out more often. And so we're gonna do Curse City this afternoon, and we talked about not rebooting, but restarting the Inquisition Wars, just because we'd started it and then lockdown happened, and we continued kind of playing it um, through the first couple of months of lockdown by having a Discord server where we did text and whatnot. We did kind of a text adventure type thing. The thing is that my Inquisitor from that first bout of the Inquisition Wars, I'm not sure what happened to her. Keith teleported her away, and now he won't tell me where she went. So we're going to
How
actually
dare
just.
he?
Yeah, I mean, it was funny at the time. I was just like, well, are you going to shoot her or what? And then there was a teleport flash, and now I have no idea where that Inquisitor is. And after talking with Daw and Luis, we kind of decided, hey, let's push it 5 years later, because now I can like bring in a new Inquisitor and some other I can kind of redo my war band, and if Keith wants to redo his war band, he can. So yeah, man. So that's going to be a fun narrative that we put together. And did you just put your headphones on Sunny Days? And Sunny is looking directly. Hi, baby. Psst, psst, psst. Anyway, so we're going to we're gonna get back to the Inquisition Wars pretty soon. So
Awesome.
yeah. So yeah, those are my games played, at least what I'm going to be doing in the next couple of weeks. So Adam, are you ready?
I'm ready. I've got a co-pilot, and I have my engines charged. Let's do it.
All right. So where are we going anyway?
Shut up. All right, fine. Hey, Sonny, where are we going?
Well, that's going to be fun. All right, so what's your Beyond the Fringe this week, Adam?
Oh, boy, I don't think I put one.
No, you didn't. That's why I was wondering.
Yeah. Yeah, we didn't put a Beyond the Fringe. We didn't. You know what? You know what my Beyond the Fringe is?
What?
It's pet insurance. If you get a puppy,
Pet insurance.
get yourself some pet insurance, because you know why? It will probably pay for itself. Actually, probably won't. But you won't be paying thousands of dollars if your dog does something stupid. Now, he hasn't done anything stupid yet, but he will. Actually, he's done. So yesterday we were at camp, and Wendy's parents, I am far away from the microphone. Wendy's parents, because I got the puppy with me. Wendy's parents had a bar of soap sitting out.
Oh,
Guess what? There wasn't a bar of soap anymore after a minute. He literally ate almost an entire bar of Irish Spring.
Ooh. Yeah, that one has fragrance.
Yeah, well, yeah, he puked it up later, but yeah, along with a whole bunch of bubbles. And it was fine. He was fine, but imagine if he did eat something super toxic,
Yeah.
Puppies are dumb, and insurance is cheap if you get it early in the dog's life. So
okay.
Good times. He's very angry at me. But yeah, dog insurance. It's good. We took him to the vet the other day, and it's like 90% paid.
Oh, rad. Okay.
Yeah, it's pretty good. What's yours?
All right. So mine, few things. Last episode, I modified your voice with the Ultra Pitch 6 voice mono plugin. I think I don't remember where I got it from. It might actually be a built-in for Pro Tools. Anyways, I ran 4 of the 5 instances of your voice through a single pass-through of one of the various presets. So I'm going to play with that plugin a bit more. So today's Beyond the Fringe will be, it'll have the Ultra Pitch 6 as its modification. So Beyond the Audio Nerd, I was originally, Pepto-Bismol was going to be my Beyond the Fringe, but we introduced David Annandale to Zencastr. Mm-hmm. That's my Beyond the Fringe. We introduced David to that.
He does podcasts and stuff too, I think.
Yeah. They do things the way we used to do, which was record over Skype. Mm-hmm. We record ourselves and talk over Skype, but I kind of explained why we moved over to Zencastr and why I like it and how it has an automatic noise reduction. And, I said, to be honest, 2 or 3 hours of noise reduction work a month is worth the price for my sanity, what's left of it. Right. So, yeah, I'm
cool.
Totally down with that. So, yeah.
All right. Yeah, speaking the good word of Zencastr is very important.
Yeah.
As for the Astropathic Communique, thanks. There's a couple people on Patreon already. Please think about, if you like our show. The first level is just $1.50 a month. If you could just throw us that would be super great. Could help us pay for Zencastr and for our hosting fees at Libsyn, that would be super great. Now we do have a little bit of an advert here that we're going to record. We're going to record it and then we'll just rerun it later. But the folks over at Geek Nation Tours have like a YouTube show that they asked us to help them promote, and it's pretty well produced. I'm pretty impressed with the work that they're doing over there. So here we go. Tales from the Outer Rim is a geek-based travel show that visits awesome geeky locations like conventions, filming locations, and geeky historical spots. While there, we hang out with our friends and talk about all the geeky things we love, from delving the dark places via Dungeons and Dragons to talking about the SETI search for alien life, from what we are playing on the tabletop to how history has turned into pop culture. So, if you are itching to do some armchair traveling, come abroad and let's go out for an adventure together. So they have a YouTube channel. It's just the Geek Nation Tours YouTube channel, and it's just a show that they do on that. And it's kind of a no-brainer. Like they go all over the world doing all these geeky trips to not do like. In addition, like adding a little video and actual like content to that seems like something they should have been doing a long time ago, if I'm being perfectly honest. Yeah. It seems like a missed opportunity, and I think that they must have realized that.
Well, I think before they're probably so busy that,
Yeah. True. Because, you know what? Yeah. You got a good point, dude, because when you are with Geek Nation Tours, you have their undivided attentions, and they are constantly working for you. So, yeah, I can see that they'll have to bring someone else on to do that, help them do that content. Yeah. So, yeah, I can definitely see that. Okay, definitely. Cool. All right. Well, Jason, are you ready to take to transport ourselves into the past? To about an hour and a half ago when we talked to David.
All the way back to 11 a.m. CST? Are we powerful enough to do that?
Oh, we are. I am feeling very powerful right now. I know Sonny is. What do you think, Sonny? Maybe I'll go back in time and put on pants before talking to a renowned Black Library author. Nah, here we go. Damn, I knew it was around here somewhere. Damn, where is it?
Can I help you?
Ah! Scared me.
What do you seek?
I need the perfect scenario for a narrative game I'm running this week, and I can't find one.
Sir, this is the Black Library. We don't have narrative scenarios.
Well, then where should I go?
Might I recommend the Tabletop Campaign Repo?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo? What's that?
The Tabletop Campaign Repo is an ad-free site for hosting resources related to playing tabletop miniatures wargaming.
Oh, like scenarios?
Absolutely. Also, event packs, custom objectives, tracking sheets, custom terrain rules, maps, icon packs, award templates, and more.
Oh, and this is for Warhammer 40k?
Among other things. There's also Age of Sigmar, Kill Team, Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and others. They're always open for content submissions for any system, even non-Games Workshop materials.
Oh, that's awesome. It sounds like a great way to save all of this great content the community makes. A lot of that stuff often ends up disappearing into a dead message board or Facebook group.
Exactly. It's a real community effort.
Great. So how do I get there?
Just go to that webway gate marked tcrepo.com.
tcrepo.com. Got it. Can I ask you one more question before I go?
Fire away.
This place is really easy to find. How come Amon can never find it?
Oh, because it's more funny that way.
Oh, yeah, clearly.
Once again, the Tabletop Campaign repository can be found at tcrepo.com, and they're always looking for submissions.
Greetings, mofos.
Are you out of George Dickel number 8, staring at a broken chess machine?
Don't want to spend the rest of the year tied to that couch?
Well, why don't you head on over to the 1 Hour a Night Facebook page and see what exciting stuff is going on there. It's a place to post all your daily progress in the hobby grind, as well as receive and give positive feedback. Also, there are usually a few interesting challenges going on.
That's right. All you have to do is search for 1 Hour a Night on Facebook. That's numeral 1 Hour a Night, all one word. Blood serum tests will be administered prior to approval.
Se til helvete og kom dere vekk. Det er ikke ei bikkje, det er en slags ting. Den imiterer ei bikkje, men det er ikke det. Kom dere vekk, idioter!
What he said.
This is David Annandale, and you're listening to Masters of the Forge, where they bring the world of Warhammer 40,000 to life on your tabletop.
Welcome back, and we're happy to have David Annandale here with us once again. David, thank you for coming on. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.
How are you doing? It's been a minute. How has quarantine treated you?
It's been not too bad. My wife and I consider ourselves fortunate in that being told to just stay in our house together is pretty much what we would want to do anyway. So we're among those who have been able to stay sane and and healthy. So we're hanging in there, keeping the drawbridge up, and as we weather yet another. And in fact, the province's worst wave so far. Yeah.
Because everybody's like fatigued. Yeah, and that's a problem. I try to be sensitive, but yeah, this has kind of been pretty great for me. I've gotten a lot of painting done. So with the caveat that yes, we are absolutely sensitive to all the horrible stuff that's going on out there. There are silver linings. So now that the pretense is over, how's Rosie? How's our good friend?
Oh, Rosie's doing very well, and she has a little brother called Alfie, which we were told was a cross-lab corgi, but in fact seems to have been crossed with a bear. So he's yeah, there's no corgi in this guy. He's not even. I think he's 9-10 months old, and he's I think he is now bigger than his sister. So
oh my gosh.
So we have two big dogs now, and they're joyful. They're joyous. So yeah.
That's awesome. Yeah,
wow.
We have a brand new golden retriever named Sunny Days, and I am currently living in a quantum state where I am going to have to or not have to clean up poop after this interview. So we'll see. We'll see where we're at.
I see. How old is Sunny?
10 weeks.
Oh yeah. Okay. Yeah. So I think I actually know the answer to that. Yeah.
My money's
He's
on
been
yes.
doing pretty good, but
so you
be.
You just got him then, right?
Yeah, we just recently got him, and it's like I've been telling people, it's like having a toddler with the sleep schedule of an infant. It is bracing. It is bracing, but he's cute as a Dickens, and
unfortunately,
all three of us, yes, he's getting a lot better, but all three of us are scratched from head to toe with bites and. I gave my son a bath this morning, and I'm like, dude, what happened to you? It looks like we're thrashing you with Yuli with switches, for goodness sake. But speaking of yew trees, we're talking about the Deacon of Wounds by yourself, by you, pretty sure. Me. Yes.
I hope so. Otherwise, someone else.
Allow myself to introduce myself. It is one of the earlier Warhammer Horror novels, and we're pretty excited about the Warhammer Horror line and the what's the other Investigations?
Warhammer Crime, isn't that the
Warhammer Crime? That's it. Yeah. That's it. Because it's really nice to have some novels for 40K that aren't focused on military fiction. We've had them in the past. It's just hard to tell. It's hard to say, oh, this is the group of novels that isn't military fiction. It's you're kind of rolling the dice when you're picking up a book, despite what's listed on the dust jacket. I think I've read Rachel Harrison's Way Out. Well, read. I listened to Way Out. Way Out was awesome. That was a great story. We really enjoyed that one, and it's full of atmosphere. I think there's a lot of room to fill these like Warhammer horror novels with atmosphere. How did the range come about? Is that something that you were part of the impetus of? Like, do you have an editor role, or are you just happy to be writing?
No, I'm strictly a freelancer. I don't have any. I don't have any editorial role whatsoever with Black Library. So this was just something I heard that I was told that they were going to do, which I mean, that's the dream come true stuff for me, right?
Right.
So it was like, you're doing a horror line? Please, 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 please let me do some stuff. So yeah, that was, so I was very lucky that I was able to be part of that from as it began. So in the short, some of the anthologies, like I think was it Maledictions was like the first one? Maledictions, and then the novella collection of the Wicked and the Damned, and then the first novel I was able to do was The House of Night and Chain, which got me a chance to do. I mean, I love haunted houses. My pre Black Library horror novel, Gethsemane Hall, was a haunted house novel. So this gave me a chance to dive back into that again. And then I mean, the Warhammer horror line is just a wonderful playground for me. So it's one of these things where I had absolutely nothing to do with its creation, but I'm so happy with it. It's as if it were created just for me. That's the kind of joy I feel with it.
You can imagine why I would think that. I mean, I just assumed that it was like you marched down to Games Workshop and demanded a line of horror novels.
Well, when the line came out, I remember thinking, "Wow, this is David's." Like I didn't think. I was just like, "That's just his." I didn't even think any of the other stuff at all. I was just like, "Yep, there we are. Cool. He has his place that he can own." So,
but I mean, Josh Reynolds was right in there as well. But in fact, he was diving in even before I was. And I mean, his horror knowledge is absolutely encyclopedic as well. And Clint Werner. I mean, Clint Werner and others were. I mean, there's a lot of really big horror fans in the Black Library freelancer pool. There were a lot of people basically making the same kind of sort of excited puppy sounds that I was when this was announced.
That's awesome. Yeah. I have the Night in Chains novel on deck in Audible right now. I doubt very highly the characters in that novel will have the leg strength that the characters in Gethsemane Hall must have now, going up and down the stairs as they did. But I'm sure it'll be just as good. I really enjoyed Gethsemane Hall, by the way. I don't know if I contacted you about that, but that was a really fun. And it was like one of those things where I'm wrapping up the book in the middle of the night in my room, and it's I think it was winter at the time, so it was, the house makes noises, and it's like a 130-year-old house at this point. So it was a pretty fun experience. Not quite as interesting as some of the stuff going on with this novel, which we'll talk about in a little bit. Let's talk about it now, everybody. If you didn't read this book yet, you have to be careful, all right? As I was wrapping up the book, I'm on my brand new, freshly redone porch. It's all screened off. We're good. Fresh coats of paint. I'm sitting there. And my wife walks in and says, "Where are they all coming from?" I said, "What are you talking about?" I look up. A plague of flies is filling filling the room. Now the spiders are doing their best. They're doing their best, but they can't keep up. They just can't keep up. And this morning, a few days ago, we pulled off the cover of our pool, and it was just a thick slick of sludge. I don't know how that happened with the cover on. I mean, it's supposed to block all light. I'm pretty sure that there's something supernatural going on here. You don't even have to read the book out loud or perform a ritual. Just reading it silently to yourself causes these problems.
What
do you have to say for yourself, David?
Well, it's just a little added service we like to provide the fans with. You buy the book, you get the full immersive experience.
Oh, sure. Yeah. I mean, people tell me, oh, you live 20 feet from the Hudson River and your porch actually has a 10-degree slant to it because it's slowly sinking into the earth. So your windows are off a little bit so flies can get in. But I don't think that's the real reason. I'm pretty sure.
Not if your house is 130 years old. I mean, come on.
It's fine.
Yeah,
it's fine.
It's already impregnated with evil. I mean, like the walls are seeping with it. So, Yeah.
Oh, good. I was really hoping that wasn't some sort of dangerous chemical. It's just the evil. Good.
Yeah, it's just
I can handle that. Yeah. So,
You're on the Hudson, though. So.
Yeah, it is the Hudson. It's full of evil already. Science fiction and horror do kind of go hand in hand. There's a lot of examples of this, and I really liked in the beginning the description of Ambrose's travels across Thekatos reminded me a lot of the imagery from Outworld, from Dark Tower. Although Thekatos is having some very specific issues. Do you see the world of 40K itself as like this rapidly unfolding post-apocalypse type setting? Is that how you approach it, or is it like novel by novel basis?
It's novel by novel, and I mean, I think in some ways the 40K universe is more like a multi-thousand-year constantly unfolding apocalypse, right? It's perpetual apocalypse. It never gets to post, and it wasn't pre for very long. It's just 10,000 years of apocalypse, and no one's tired of it yet. But within that, I mean, the galaxy is so vast, right? That I think it provides all kinds of options. I mean, I say this about nonstop apocalypse, but there are gradations, right? There are planets where things are more stable than others. Otherwise, nothing would cohere. It would just all fall apart at once. So, I mean, the world I had in the House of Night and Chain, for instance, is one that's relatively stable, that things are holding together, versus Theotokos, which is on its last legs, right? Like it is rapidly moving towards post, and post is going to be not much there, even before Ambrose makes some ill-considered decisions. So it's. It's a world that's going to be abandoned. That effectively already has been by the wider Imperium. It's the drought situation is such that it's no longer pulling its weight, as it were. It's not producing anything that is useful to the Imperium. So they're
not showing up.
Yeah, it might as well be a gangrenous limb that's being amputated. So, but it doesn't happen all at once. It takes a while. So, it is a situation where that particular world is doomed already, and it's so you have the people who either have realized this and are just going to get what they can out of it, and those who are desperate to try to prevent something that certainly seems inevitable.
So, in that vein, like of the, they're kind of this gangrenous limb, capturing that, like the idea of the tragedy of mass atrocity seems to be very different and maybe easier compared to capturing the tragedy of like the other tragedy going on in the novel, which is this relatively good man slide into committing those atrocities. What's the secret there? Is it because like we're this unfortunate truth that as a society we've become all too accustomed to that kind of atrocity, or is it because like we see it on TV all the time? I'm not sure. I feel like the psychological atrocity of Ambrose himself, it felt like that had to be treated with a bit more care.
Well, yeah, I mean, I guess the way I saw him functioning as someone who is seeing a mass atrocity unfolding before his eyes, right, through the corruption of the individual corruption, certainly of the cardinal for whom he's working, but he's kind of caught in the wheels of a system that is making it worse for everyone, and he does desperately want to make things better. So that the tragedy is that he makes it worse. I guess there is a kind of ongoing an atrocity through. I guess the difference between an atrocity through apathy. I mean, if we look at what the Cardinal's doing, I mean, he is not going out of his way to make people suffer. He just doesn't care, right? He is just taking what he wants, from the world. He's focused on his own comfort, and whoever is outside the walls, well, too bad, right? It's he's a billionaire living behind his walled compound, essentially. Whereas so what we have with Ambrose is someone who sees that happening, who is horrified by it, is furious with it, and wants to make a difference. And his need to make a difference, the problem there is that gets linked up with his pride, and which he doesn't realize, and that's what gets used against him. The specific inspiration for his character, essentially the way I approached the Deacon of Wounds when I was first writing it, and I mean, this was also, this is a plague novel, which I wrote during a plague, which hadn't really been, it was conceived of before any of this happened. That wasn't the plan. Yeah. But the guiding inspiration for his character and the structure is Matthew Lewis as the monk. This was essentially a kind of like a 40K transplantation of the monk, but with the reversal. So in Lewis's Gothic novel, Ambrosio, the main character, is this charismatic monk whose sermons captivate all his listeners, who becomes a kind of superstar. So not unlike the situation we have with Ambrose. But the difference being that Ambrosio is both of them, their pride is their fatal flaw. But Ambrosio in the novel, his desire to do good disappears very quickly, right? He just goes down a selfish hole almost right away. Whereas what I wanted to have with Ambrose is someone who believes right to the very end that he's doing the right thing, even if he's having to rationalize harder and harder and harder as that go, and willfully look away from what he is doing and refuse to realize that he has fallen.
Right. I feel good. I really liked how you treated all your characters, but you had a lot of respect. You showed a lot of respect for Ambrose by giving him the opportunity to question his actions. I noticed that throughout the book where he would react to the things that are happening or the things he does that he might have questioned in someone else, because everybody has to rationalize it in one way or another. He eventually comes to the wrong conclusions. Obviously, his almost blind hatred for Rosarius, who could have actually been an ally against this threat because he'd been so close to the cardinal for so long. He probably had as much more information than anybody else on how to fight this thing. But at the same time, like, Ambrose was constantly questioning all of his own actions. And he still came to the wrong conclusions, but at least I didn't get the feeling that the author was somehow prejudiced against the faithful. You know what I'm saying? I can kind of get the idea that sometimes maybe perhaps in this other book that you're talking about, that perhaps the author had a deep prejudice against the character from the beginning.
Well, they're different characters, right?
Right. Okay.
The sort of story that that Lewis is telling is seeing. The Ambrosio in that book is essentially a megalomaniac, right? And and his virtue was something that was clearly a show from the start, and his pride is already manifest. So it doesn't really take very much for him to be seduced by the novice, who's actually a witch, who then actually turns out to be a demon, and so on and so forth. Whereas I think what I wanted to do with Ambrose, though, was I guess along the lines of what you're saying, in that he does. Whenever he's about to make another bad move, right? I wanted that question to arise so that we get the. I mean, I think the things in you see in tragedy is that on the one hand it's inevitable due to the character's fatal flaw, but you also keep seeing the moments where maybe don't listen to Lady Macbeth at this particular moment, right? But you're going to do it anyway, right? Because it's in your nature. But also if you think about the way that we constantly do this to ourselves, right? Is the question of all right, so here's a choice. What am I going to do? Well, I'm probably going to do the thing that I want to do. Right, and then retroactively justify, or even at the time say, okay, no, but this is the right thing. Ambrose is caught by what he wants to believe, right? So when the decisions come up, and where he's going to make the mistake, he lead towards the damnation of his world. Is that he is so caught up in the image of himself that he has come to believe, right, that of essentially the savior of his world, that everything that would support that self-image is ultimately what he's going to choose, because he wants that to be true very, very badly. And doing something that would admit to no, he's completely wrong, that he isn't the savior of the world, he's not going to be able to turn away from that. And that's something that I also wanted to set up gradually, that he doesn't start from a position of thinking that that's who he is. But the desire to be the desire to save the people gradually blends into the belief that he is the savior, so that it's the old road to hell thing. But the powers of chaos here are using his virtues to turn them into vices, right? He's being damned by the things that are also his good points.
In his mind, in his inner dialogue, he starts the book saying that, you know, it's truly the Emperor that's going to save them, and then by the end of the book, he's on this crusade to save the planet, and every once in a while he'll throw at people, "Oh no, don't thank me, thank the Emperor." Actually, really do thank me. Right?
I am the chosen vessel, kind of thing, right? Yeah.
So it's not just Ambrose that you give agency to, but one thing that stood out to me was giving credit to the people of Margaret themselves. Like, one of the scenes was where Ambrose was talking about how he was giving these sermons, and any sermon that was given to him by the cardinal, he delivered mechanically, and he was impressed that the people had noticed that, and that you can't treat the people like they're stupid, because they'll always figure it out. They can see that, and sometimes when you get into these mass hysteria type stories, the people are like cattle. But in this one, I felt like the people were not only at the beginning did he show that the people were able to see the lies, but as things started to get bad, all the characters that were, you know, not holy people but close to the problem could also see the issues that were popping up, like the Master at Arms. I forgot her name, but people you can't treat these people like they're cattle in these stories, because it doesn't feel true, because people find out pretty quickly what's going on.
Well, and I think thank you for saying that. That's what I wanted there. And the people, I mean, they can't help but know. I mean, you know, given the way that they are being treated by the cardinal, right? Faith notwithstanding, they're going to see the way he's living, and the way that he is also essentially disassociated himself from them, right? Whereas Ambrose is the figure that they see, and that they can see is clearly trying to help. Right. And I mean, they are in an absolutely desperate situation. They are trying to help themselves as best they can. Many of them are. It is a losing battle, but this is also one of the reasons why they're going to go along with Ambrose, because he is the person who has been, you know, up until the Plague Father starts getting to work here. How should I put this? Ambrose has been trying to help them. Everything he has done up to this point has been good for them. They can tell the difference when he's speaking from the heart and when he's just, you know, saying something that he has been told to say. So why wouldn't they continue to trust him? He has earned their trust. And as things start to go wrong, it does at least initially appear that the answers he has for what's happening would appear to be correct, or they certainly don't have any reason to believe that he's lying to them. And in many ways, he's not, because he does believe what he's saying. So he's as genuine in what he's saying as he always was, or as it starts to slip, he's certainly desperate to continue to believe that. Right. And so, you know, there's in some ways there isn't anything for them to see through, because he does believe this. So they'll
and you might rarely get that rare few people who are like, wow, you actually believe what you're saying, even though you're not right.
Yeah. Well, and some of them may start to, okay, wait a minute, why, you know, so there's going to be, I mean, even and forgive me because it's been so long. I've got the most awful memory for characters' names, but Bethia, who is closest to him and is and so is going to be the one who is most emotionally invested in believing him, is going to reach a point. Oh, okay, wait a minute, this is getting harder and harder to buy now. This is I can't make these rationalizations anymore. But by that point, it's too late.
Yeah. Something just popped up in my head. Like, so you were talking about Ambrose's motivations and stuff, and we all hear about the idea that, keep your character's motivations clear and stuff like that to make sure all the decisions they make sense. But do you ever get to the point where your plot and your character's motivations don't gel and you have to make either a change to one or the other? Like, what would you rather do? Change the plot to better fit the motivations, or change the character fundamentally to make that work? Or just have a random thing happen that fixes it?
That's a really good question. And I'm trying to think if I've run into that.
It sounds like something horrible to happen to you.
Yeah. And I don't, off the top of my head, I can't think of an instance where that has happened, because the process of the writing for me, at any rate, involves so much the outlining at the start, so that like a lot of those issues are hopefully dealt with, right? So that the plot and character are hopefully going to be essentially inseparable. So that
they're in harmony from the beginning.
Yeah, that the plot is happening because of of the character, and the character is shaped by the plot. So that I'm sorting that out before I set pen to paper, finger to keyboard. Now there's certainly going to be moments where you start to get into the finer details. Like, okay, I know this has to happen here. So, does that make sense now for this character to do that? And that certainly can become a kind of opportunity where you know that the character has to do this thing. All right, so what is it about this character that is going to drive them to that? And that becomes a way to explore them a bit more deeply, or engage in the questioning, right? Should I be doing this? Well, yeah, I think I'm going to do this thing. Oops, that was the wrong thing. But
you need to build a chicken to make that egg later on.
Yeah. So I don't think I've run into a situation where the plot had to turn right and the character was insisting on turning left, and I was going to have to tackle them, tie them up, and put them in a car and drive them in the right direction. I don't think I've run into that. I'll probably think of an example about an hour after this podcast.
The Warhammer TV guys like to say, "Are you a planner or a pantser?" I know a lot like, again, Stephen King, he's a pantser. He just goes. And some folks are planners, and they plan very far ahead. So it sounds like getting a good plan ahead of time helps avoid that kind of situation.
I'm definitely a planner, and I'm and of course, because but I'm a planner who's an ex-pantser, right? Which basically turns me into an evangelist. I used, because, and I've probably bored people to death with this, because I used to be very averse to outlines. I thought they would be creatively straitjacketing. And the first few novel length manuscripts that I wrote were pantsed. I'd have a rough idea. I think I almost always know what the ending was, but there would be a lot of just figuring out as I went along. And the first book that I sold, Crownfire, was started off pants, but then this is a thriller. The further I went, and the more I was having to juggle plot things, the more I was having to start. Yeah, I didn't realize at the time I was starting to outline a little bit more, so I knew where the chapters were going. But even there, I mean, this is a book where I realized partway through that okay, I'm getting a little top heavy with characters here, because I know there's a whole bunch I'm going to have to start bringing in, and I already have these ones. So I shoved a bunch of characters into a warehouse and blew it up so that I get these. Okay, all right, you're gone now. I don't need to worry about you.
Wow!
And when that book sold, and I got the editorial, the notes from the editor, and went through the revision stages, that in the course of that, the book lost a third of its length. Right, 50,000 words went out went into the trash, and there was I could see there was that much excess baggage to it. So for the next book, I had been recommended an outlining method by a friend, and I finally put that into practice. And the difference between the editing of the first book and the editing of the second book was like night and day. So from that moment on, I've always outlined. And it's certainly for the process of the Black Library. I mean, we start with the pitch, and then we do the synopsis of the chapter by breakdown. So the outline basically has to be there anyway, right? That's the first stage of the writing. So yeah, I mean, the thing that I learned about the outline is that it's not, carved in stone. It's a roadmap, and if you decide you want to take a detour or map it out another way, you're free to do so. But at least there's always here's a structure. I'm not going to get lost.
So yeah, even though you're spending all this time on the front end working out the plot, or at least some kind of outline, you're saving yourself those thousands of words that you would have otherwise had to jam out and then throw in the garbage.
Yeah, for me, and I mean, I know for other people, it's a completely different situation. So right. It's whatever works for an individual writer is the right thing.
It's okay to proselytize. This is your space right now. Yeah. This is your space. Yeah, don't ask forgiveness here. Great. Jason, did you have any specific things you wanted to ask about before we get into our last couple of questions?
No, although now that we were talking about the, outline versus pantser, I really do like that. I teach music tech and composition, and there are many times I have to go through and talk to my students about, hey, you're writing this piece for orchestra. Do you have a plan for this? Or are we just going to go in, are we going to do this live, quote unquote? And so it's nice to hear, someone else that's in another field, go through and say, hey, I've done this, but now I've become an evangelical about these things. And that does, this is like out of the podcast. This is actually out in my real world life. So, I was wanting to actually ask you about that, but I thought that'd be way too nerdy for this.
No, that's what this is for. That's what this is for, dude.
We're all nerds here.
Remember the interview, the Brutal Cunning interview, where I asked all these very important questions that I felt were very important, and he said, "This is just a fun book about orcs." In not so many words. That was great. So yeah.
But thank you for sharing. Thank you for sharing. How you work. That's always really important to, or at least I always think that's very important whenever I'm teaching and having to, reform these pantsers to so to speak.
Well, and I mean, again, I guess one of the things that I'm always wary of. I mean, in spite of my proselytizing inclination, but also, I mean, I have to think about this when I'm teaching creative writing, is that it really does vary enormously from artist to artist in whatever field. And so I know that, so for some people, the outlining method just will not work, right? That they do have to pants it, and that will work for them. So I'm always, whenever I talk about a writing process, I really want to make clear that this is what has worked for me. And I can show you how this worked and why I think this is this has worked out. But this might not work for you at all. It's such an individual thing, and it's also a constantly evolving thing. I'm still trying different things to try to boost the creativity, to make it flow better. Because sometimes when I'm doing I've got the big outline, but then the chapters I tend to try to break them down into mini outlines. But then those outlines start to become so detailed that they're turning into first drafts, and that's something I'm wrestling with all the time. So it's something that I feel simultaneously very strongly about, but also equally strongly wary of imposing it on anyone.
Right. Well, we shouldn't be surprised that you have as much empathy for the pantser, the natural pantsers out there as you do for the jerks in your book. So that's fine.
Well, and I'm certainly when I'm running a D&D game, I mean, there the pantser really has to come
out. Dude, I'll tell you, the best campaign I ever ran was one that I actually bothered to outline from start to finish. All the other ones, by the end, I was like, well, I guess I'm making this level 20 wizard / beholder for them to fight or whatever. So yeah, I can definitely see where that applies there too. My goodness.
I know within music, we have to be able to do both, because you never know what's going to happen. Like, you might get that client who says, "Hey, I need I need a minute for something. Give me a minute of music," and that's not organization. That is okay. That's a minute.
Yeah.
That should be cranked out without much of a thought for larger ideals and larger meta levels and whatnot. So, I'm very much how about this? Go with this kind of. The big stuff is outlined, but the local stuff, there's your chaos. There you go. You have fun there. You go play in that sandbox. So
yeah. Enough of this high level stuff.
Sorry.
Here's the important question. What's grosser? Accidentally eating an entire fly in one gulp, or accidentally chewing a fly that flew in your mouth and spitting it out?
How big is the fly? I mean, because if you
it had some good crunch to it when you chewed it.
Yeah, because if you can really sink your teeth into it, right? Like it's a substantial fly, right? You got a good steak going on there. So you can feel the
mouthfeel of the fly.
The mouthfeel of the fly. What's fuzzy, what's scaly, where's the legs? Okay, here's the body, right? I think the grosser possibilities are. I would lean towards there, because if you just swallowed it, that could have been dust.
That's a psychological horror, though, right? I swallowed this fly. Right?
Well, yes.
Is it still alive?
Well, there we go.
How long is it alive for? Was there something in it that could make me sick?
Exactly.
If you're in the 40K universe, I really don't know.
Yeah, well, then you're screwed. Yeah.
Either way.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to.
And there you go. It's the difference between the psychological. You can imagine all sorts of truly revolting possibilities, but you're not experiencing them necessarily.
Yeah.
I'm going to go through and ramp this up a little bit more. What if you accidentally inhale one?
Ooh, it's like you're worried that it's in your lung instead of in your esophagus. Ooh.
Yeah. My time with the harvest with my family, I remember inhaling, gnats, and then spending 10 minutes trying to cough, breathe them
Expel
out.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you feel that there's the little grit inside your saliva or something. It's got to be one of them, and yeah.
Ooh.
I would
As someone
rather
who used
eat
to-
one or chew one than inhale one again. So yeah,
Because you never know how long it's going to be in there.
he might still be
You
in
never
there.
know. It might still be in there. You never know. All right, David, thank you so much. So do you have anything coming up that you can talk about that you want to hawk here on our wonderful show?
Well, just released is A Dynasty of Monsters. That went up for pre-order last weekend. So I think the hardcovers are already sold out, but it is available on ebook. So this is an Age of Sigmar book with the Soulblight vampires. And the faction I'm focusing on in here is the Avengori with Alaukavai, the Mother of Nightmares. And so it's epic, but it's also very dark and lots of monsters.
That sounds fun. Any personal projects right now that you can talk about?
Let's see. Mostly the stuff I'm working on are things like for both Black Library and Aconite. I wish I could talk about, but I can't.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about all of them, and I can't wait till I actually say what they are. But
didn't you just have something come out that you could talk about? That I'm sorry to say I haven't read it, but aren't you working with some superhero stuff?
Well, the book that came out just before Deacon of Wounds was The Harrowing of Doom, my first Doctor Doom novel with Aconite.
Cool.
And he's my favorite Marvel character, bar none. So writing that book, I kept wanting to go back to my 10-year-old self in time and think, do you know what's going to happen? Do you know what you're going to get to do?
That's fantastic. I love it. Are you kind of sad that the whole Warhammer horror thing didn't happen until after you wrote a Nefertata book? Would you have preferred to do like a more cerebral novel for her than like a standard Warhammer novel, or do you think that's something that might still happen?
No, the Nefertata books were very much what I wanted. I mean, the brief that I got for them was, I think the way Nick Kime put it was something like Game of Thrones crossed with House of Cards by way of Excalibur, and that challenge in itself was so exciting. And no, they are what I wanted to do with them, and I got to explore the idea of her as a military genius through this, but a kind of historian as well. I mean, she's got this memory going back, so far. So this is someone who's going to have thought very deeply about what she is doing. So I love that character so much. The books were, I don't know there's a very strong component of horror to them as well, but I think the kind of character that she is lends itself to the very much Age of Sigmar, not Warhammer Horror. And I think because this is one of the important distinguishing characteristics of the Warhammer Horror line is that the protagonists are by and large going to be the people who aren't the protagonists in the other lines, right? They're the bystanders, the bit parts, and most of the supporting players, right? So you're not going to have the named characters driving being central, right? So I may have a named character as the big bad in the Deacon of Wounds, but not as the protagonist. Right. For one thing, that means because none of the characters none of the central characters in Warhammer Horror are named characters. You can do whatever the hell you want to them. right?
That's right. That
and
makes so much sense.
That changes the stakes, right?
Mhm.
Now, the thing is that appealed to me so much about the Black Library universes from the start is the way that they combine horror and fantasy and science fiction, and like it's once. I've said this before. And for me, it was like one-stop shopping for all my favorite genres, and I had essentially written horror novels prior to the for Black Library prior to the Warhammer horror line. Anyway, I mean, for all intents and purposes, The Damnation of Pythos is a horror novel. And I put strong horror components in them, and the Age of Sigmar line presents a special challenge because you said at the beginning how science fiction and horror go together really well, and they do, right? But horror and fantasy, I think, are a trickier combination to do. But the Age of Sigmar universe is one where you can do it. So in the Dynasty of Monsters and in the Neferata books, I definitely have put horror in them. I mean, you got vampires as main characters. Of course, it's going to be there. But there's those very strong other elements that with these particular characters are going to be there inevitably, right? Which isn't to say that I mean, I wrote a Neferata short was that for the Advent calendar or the White Dwarf? And the silly thing is I can't even remember its title now. It had ravens in the title. That's
fair enough.
There's my memory. But the thing is, it is essentially a horror short. It wasn't part of the horror line, but it is a flat out horror. But for a Neferata novel, I think she works better in something that's horror tinged. I mean, I've got my Tombs of the Blind Dead tribute in the Dominion of Bones, but is the epic quality has to be there too.
Right. And you know what? That's such a great explanation, because that makes so much more sense to me. Like if Nefertata is going to be in a Warhammer horror novel, she's not going to be the central character. She's going to be the thing that's happening to the central character.
Exactly. Yes. Exactly.
And she's a military commander. It's almost sexist of me to say, why wouldn't it just be a pure intrigue novel? No, she's a military commander. She is a mover and a shaker, right? That's what that novel is going to be about. It's going to be about her influence and her military might and her ability to machinate things even across realms. Because she's a freaking genius, so an immortal genius. So yeah, that would and having someone so extra, so someone who's such a superlative character as the central character of what is essentially a horror novel. You're not worried about them. You're worried about their plans. You're worried about whether they're gonna achieve what they want to achieve. You're going to be rooting for them, but you're not going to be worried about their mortality.
Right. I mean, like you said, she is the force that happens to you. So, the challenge with horror, of course, you have to feel that the characters are potentially going to be overwhelmed by whatever it is they're up against, and now with and that potential is certainly already there, right? As powerful as the Space Marines are, there's even more ghastly creatures that you can throw at them. So you can go. There are ways of making the horror work, but it's going to, I think, flow even more naturally when it's just some poor administratum clerk who doesn't even know the demons exist, that is now suddenly confronting that, and that is also, I think, the central challenge of the blend of horror and fantasy, because of the role of magic and of characters having great power in fantasy can make it depending on the execution, depending on the world. Everything, I'm speaking in extremely broad and absolutely challengeable generalizations here. But if your characters,
well, you're making a lot of sense. Like in D&D, why didn't they just cast Cure Disease?
Right. Yeah. If your character is powerful and magic is a commonplace, then the supernatural. If the supernatural, it doesn't read as the supernatural. Right. It's just a thing that happens. That's going to change things. Again, it's not like we don't have lots of really good examples of horror fantasy, and if you look at the Warhammer Horror line, you'll see that there are a lot of the books that are Age of Sigmar set, which challenge accepted, right there. But it does it changes the. I think the approach needs to be thought through in a slightly different way than it is in say, with science fiction. So if you look at something like Alien or Event Horizon or The Thing, right? They just, it's peanut butter and chocolate. It's there's no problem at all. They blend together seamlessly.
That is a challenge. I think one of the biggest challenges though is having, when people pick up a Warhammer, military fiction book, they already care about the character that's on the cover. Mm-hmm. So, I think the big challenge of making people care about the bit player they're going to read about is a pretty big challenge. I think you've met the challenge here in Deacon of Wounds. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you.
It was pretty great. I think if folks are just listening to this for funsies, I suggest you pick it up or pick up one of the other Warhammer horror novels, because I am excited about these more expositional stories with characters that are a little bit different than we're used to listening to. Thanks so much, David. I appreciate you coming on.
Well, thanks for having me. It's always a lot of fun chatting with you guys.
Hello, everyone. The Masters of the Forge is now a proud member of the NPC, the Narrative Podcast Consortium. Our aim is to inspire your hobby through the rich lore of the 41st millennium. If you enjoy our podcast, then make sure to check out these other awesome shows, where you can get coverage on campaigns, Black Library, and all kinds of general topics of the 40K background.
The NGC 40K podcast also provides in-depth campaign coverage, audio dramas, and free-flowing narrative campaign creation.
The Adeptus Terra podcast also features in-depth discussions of the lore and commentary on the hobby.
Oh, and sexy English voices.
Oh, yeah.
The Masters of the Forge brings the world of 40K to life on your tabletop, with discussion on the lore, backed up by narrative-themed rules and battle reports.
Of course, this is only a fraction of the topics covered by the podcasts of the NPC. Please tune in to find out more.
Come here, boy, get the ball. Aw, come on, Max, get the ball. Mom, Max won't get the ball. He's lazy.
I think I know why your Zote is being lazy, Jenny.
Why, Mom?
Because you forgot to feed him his Zotobix today.
Oh, no.
Oh, yes. Zotobix contains all the nutrients and random animal parts a growing Zote craves. It not only provides our Zote with the energy it needs to play with you and protect our home, but it also keeps its chitinous shell fresh and shiny.
Oh, boy. I'd better feed Max his Zotobix.
Yes, you had.
Zotobix is made in part from grade
Max,
A
time for
Astra
dinner.
Militarum post-engagement byproduct and is infused with 112 essential vitamins
No,
and
Max,
minerals
down.
harvested from your Zote's natural habitat, the finest desert deserts.
Ah!
Zotobix is available in any shopping center on worlds where Zotes are allowed or where the Imperium's inexorable influence has not yet reached.
Oh, we've reached level 6. Welcome back. That was a lovely episode, wasn't it, Jason?
Oh, yeah.
It was a
Oh,
great
yeah.
episode. Yeah, feeling good. I was going to clean the house today. Instead, I'm going to leave and meet my wife up at camp. So
Awesome.
F this place.
Well, it's summer, or it's almost summer. We've now spent the last year, stuck inside, you've just gotten out of your quote unquote winter. Well, I say quote unquote winter because I know that it still sometimes snows in May in upstate New York.
Yes, it does. It
does. And so this is a chance for you to get out and get some sunshine, actually act like you might not be a mole person,
Maybe shed 20 or 30 pounds. That would be super great. All right, Jason. Well, you have yourself a beautiful day. Next week or next episode, we're going to be trying to do some Anvil Apotheosis stuff. But until then,
play the game the way you want to.
Sonny, you want to go camping? Sunny days, sweeping the. He's just nibbling himself. Do you have fleas? Are you preening? We'd love it if you could give us a positive rating and review on iTunes.
If you'd like to keep in contact with us, you can follow us on Facebook or Twitter by searching for Masters of the Forge.
And you can follow our hobby progress on Instagram with the hashtag Masters of the Forge.
If you'd like to engage with us directly, you can always join our Discord server.
To do so, or if you have any questions, topic suggestions, or if you'd like to advertise your creative hobby endeavor,
contact us at mastersoftheforge@gmail.com.
Please consider supporting us on Patreon at patreon.com/mastersoftheforge. Thanks.
The music used in this podcast was made by Parad of the duo Sublevel 3. The track is used with his permission. This podcast is protected by the Creative Commons Attribution, No Derivatives, Non-Commercial International License. More information about this license and contact information if you have any requests can be found at our blog, mastersoftheforge.com.
It's such a good feeling to play games your way. It's such a happy feeling 40K'ing away. And when you throw dice with story in mind, it's such a wonderful way to unwind. It's a good feeling, a very good feeling, the feeling you know that we'll be back when the fortnight's new, and we'll have new ideas for you, and you'll have things you'll want to talk about. We will too.